Hi guys, it's Hannah and Heidi, but just Heidi today. So today we're going to get together and we're going to meet a little bit about teamwork on the job. The purpose of our lesson today is going to kind of help us understand why and how teamwork is important and how and why teamwork is something that we need to manage while we're at our job or even when we're just working on any kind of task together too. So I have a couple exercises to work through today, and one of them is a little story or like a scenario that we're going to talk about, and we're going to kind of discuss how this person, and the person in our story's name is Sean, and Sean is the librarian, and we're going to talk about things that Sean did really well as talk about some things that maybe Sean could have done differently. Okay, so this talks about how Sean works in a library. She and 3 other coworkers have been asked to work together on a project. Sean turns in the completed project, but she completed it without help or input from the other people. Sean said it was really tough to find time to meet together. She did text the others, asking about them to get together to work, but got no response. Her supervisor, whose name is Nathaniel, knows that she was a promising young librarian who wants to advance to a leadership position. Nathaniel also believes that Sean has the potential to be a very good leader, but feels that Sean is impatient when it comes to working with others. So Sean was given this job to work on a project, and she had 3 other coworkers that she was supposed to work with. And she went ahead and completed this project all by herself. She did ask them to maybe get together by sending them a text one time, but she just went right ahead and did it on her own. She completed it. She said it was really hard, but she got it done. So now Nathaniel is her supervisor or her boss and thinks that Sean is a really good worker. She could be a really good leader someday. She has that potential to be a good leader, but kind of has a hard time with understanding and waiting and being patient when she has to work with other people. So let's kind of think a little bit together. What do you think that Sean did well? I want you to think about that a little bit, maybe pause the video if you need to discuss that. But what do you feel that Sean did very well? Okay, so if we kind of think about this a little bit now that you've had a chance to, some of the things that Sean did really well is she did try to get a hold of her coworkers. You know, maybe we don't know exactly for sure if she tried one time, did she only try that once, or did she maybe try to get a hold of them a few times. But she did take what we call initiative. She did take that step and just complete the task, and she did it and she got it done. The next question kind of talks a little bit about what could she have done differently, okay? So you can pause the video, kind of think a little bit about what you think that Sean, the librarian, could have maybe done differently. Okay, so now that you've had a little bit of time to think about that, what do you think that Sean could have maybe done differently in this situation? So one thing that we talked about with one of the things that she did really well was that she did ask her coworkers. Well, maybe one thing she could have done differently is maybe instead of just texting them, maybe she could have talked to them, called them, tried to say, hey, we will get together at this time, and try to maybe organize a little bit better a time for them to all meet together. Maybe she could have talked to somebody else. She could have went to her supervisor and said, we need to work on this, but I can't get a hold of anybody. Could you help me out? Making sure that when they wanted them to work together as a team, she could have found other resources and other people to help her out to be able to work as that team. The next question, how might she handle herself in the future? So if she gets another task like this in the future where she has to work with other people, how do you think she could handle herself in the future? So I want you to think about that a little bit. You can pause it or just hold on, and then we'll kind of talk about it together. Okay, so we know that Nathaniel thinks that Sean is a lot of promise to be a really good leader, that she could become a really good leader someday. So maybe in the future, if they wanted her to work together with more people, in the future she could make sure that ultimately that is her goal, not to necessarily finish the project right away, but to make sure that she's finishing it with other people. So if she has 3 other coworkers, maybe she could try working with 1. Maybe she could try working with, 2 people. Maybe she feels a little uncomfortable working with somebody else. I know sometimes I feel that way if it's somebody I don't know very well. Maybe I feel more comfortable working with a person that I do know, and maybe that I've worked with before. So maybe that could be something that she could work with too. Working with somebody that she feels more comfortable with, working with somebody that she has worked with before, finding a way to be able to work on her patience and being more patient and working with other people as a team in the future. What do you think that her supervisor or her boss, Nathaniel, could have done? So how should Nathaniel have handled this situation? Okay, I'll let you think about that for a little bit. And then we'll talk about that question as well too. So Nathaniel is her supervisor. So if we try to think about how he could have handled that situation. So if Nathaniel really wanted them to work as a team, maybe he could talk to Sean and give her some ideas of how to make sure that her coworkers and her could come together. Maybe help her make sure that she waited until she got communication from all of them. Maybe talking to her about other ways to contact people. Not everybody... I know that we live in a very technology world where everybody has their phones, but not everybody keeps their phones with them all the time. There's lots of times that myself, I don't have my phone with me. It's in my office, or when I go home, it's sitting in my room being charged. I don't carry it with me all the time. So maybe finding other ways to get a hold of somebody and not just texting somebody, like talking to them while they're at work, trying to get face-to-face communication. Maybe giving them a phone call and actually trying to talk to them on the phone and talking to them in person. Maybe he could talk to her about other things, like, I know that you have these good qualities to be a leader. How can we really enhance those to make you move forward here at the library? So I want you to think about the fact that in these situations when we have to work with somebody, it's not always something that we're going to be punished for or have a consequence for. He really does want to help Sean and help her to improve what she's doing and not necessarily have any kind of consequence for anything.